Fat shout out, Michael Johnson, Boxing Talking More. Good weekend. Happy Friday to all of you guys getting ready to celebrate your weekend. As always, I'm your foul player, and I'd like to take this time to thank you for stepping into the foul play land with your boy. Let me get myself set up here. But once again, shout out to Michael Johnson, Boxing Talking More. Came through in the chat, threw up a question too, or a statement. And I hope you guys didn't have a strenuous week. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know times are rough out there, and having to work and all that stuff just compounds the problem. Fat shout out to Watcher. Please, guys, if you could subscribe to both Watcher and Michael Johnson, Boxing Talking More. And I'm gonna throw up the link in a minute if you guys want to come through after I read my little news sessions. But let me get myself set up. Damn, I look like an Ugmo. Hold on, let me put on my hat. Yeah, I'm looking like a orphaned young vampire. I haven't been getting haircuts in a minute, and I'm not about to. My wife's the one doing them, and she's been tired these past couple days with this fucking dog that I got. But I hope you guys had a good week. I know I did okay. As far as, let me get into the news first. I wanted to track like some of the Ghislaine Maxwell shit today, but I was too busy. I know New York Nadia posted something. If you guys please could subscribe to her. It's New York Nadia, a young woman out of New York who's making a commitment to go to this trial every day. So that's a cool thing. They were trying to front like you couldn't go to the trial, but she, upon going there to the court here in downtown New York, she found out that you could attend. But as far as the news goes, I don't have nothing else to report. I think they one thing they did do is one of the people that were speaking out against Ghislaine Maxwell, who was supposed to remain like a Jane Doe or whose identity was not supposed to be revealed, the Ghislaine Maxwell's defense named her name twice. I'm not gonna say what her name is, even if I did know, but that did happen today. Another thing too with one story that I did run across, there was a guy, not a celebrity, but somebody who was on the show, like one of those dumb talent shows, America's Got Talent, I think it is. He just died of the Ronies, supposedly. According to his family, he was he was getting the thing. So I mean, I could pretty much make a safe guess that he probably did get it. And on personal stories, a friend of mine, somebody that I know, her friend just became joined like to try to become a firefighter, and he's like in the academy as we speak. But to join the academy, you got to get that thing. And one of the cats that was in the academy alongside him, he caught a heart attack and he died too. That was today, actually, too. It's crazy shit. So I mean, like, I'm hearing a lot of these stories like that. Also hearing a lot of stories that the new version of the joint was only catching people that did get that thing. Who's to say? But I'm gonna try to touch on those stories as best as I could without getting my shit nuked. See, it's very whack that I can't talk about these things like a little bit more candidly, but it's a crazy time, And then like people's guilt by association, or like if you like this, then automatically you like that and this and that. You don't want none of that stuff too, because I don't want nobody saying that I'm some like fucking some bushman or some shit, or some survivalist or anti whatever the hell, like because I have a certain view on whatever. Well, actually I don't give a shit if somebody feels that way about me, but I do want people to listen at least for a little while and build a rapport and then make a judgment later. But regardless, if you make a judgment that I'm a scumbag, one thing, I may be a scumbag, but I'm not gonna bullshit you guys either with anything that's happening in the world. I did see a messed up story. It was a guy from the show 19 Kids and Counting. I think he was one of the sons, because my wife told me this story, but now they're putting the story out there, because I think they're prosecuting him now. But they said that within his computer that he had a ton of videos and images of kids getting tortured, even babies type kids. And this is the sick shit that we have in the world today. I mean, at the end of the day, bro, fuck a Kyle Rittenhouse, or people saying that you should respect people that want to be called something else, or whatever the hell have you. I mean, when you have important shit like this happening, where real predators, you know what I'm saying, the eminent evil is moving around in such a fashion, where they get off and on seeing kids get tortured or some crazy shit like this, or the fact that there's a market for it. Because it wasn't shit that he produced himself, or pictures or videos that he produced himself. He must have bagged it somewhere. I would rather every bit of my tax money go to some shit like that than on whatever the hell they spend my tax money on. I'm not one of these people that rips about people on welfare, because I grew up on welfare. I have nephews and nieces that are still on welfare. I don't feel gypped by people being on welfare, because the money that they're giving them doesn't equate to that much to kill me long term. I riff on welfare abusers and shit like that, but I don't riff about people being on welfare long term or generationally even, because it's hard to get out of this shit. But if you were to take all my money, as far as taxes or what you end up ultimately paying, what you ultimately end up paying, back to God knows who. If they had the illest task force that just bust rapists and child predators, bro, I would have no issue. I wish that was the biggest issue every day. I wish that every news story and every commercial, rather than it being about some medicine to get your dick hard, or fucking these commercials for AIDS medicines that they're showing every second, where they have big ass black and Spanish dudes as the recipients of it. Rather than you show me that, I mean, you should be out there plastering pictures of dudes that are doing this nasty ass shit. This nasty ass shit is a lot more prevalent than we think. And even if there's one cat doing foul shit like that in the world, so long as he's still existing out in the open or alive, I mean, I think we have a big problem. And I've read a lot about this subject too. I mean, when I became a real adult and I started actually reading more, I mean, some of the stuff I read about cases and whatnot that happened in the past have a lot to do with this, and a lot of them are people that ultimately got away with doing it. You know what I'm saying? Groups that got away with doing it even. So I mean, Not to say that like things like that entertain me, like sports and shit, like I shouldn't be enjoying them because this shit is happening in the world. But the fact that like people are getting doxxed for like corny shit or like who knows, like whatever like incites people nowadays. I wish people were more incited by that, because I think eventually in our lifetime they're gonna try to legalize um like pedos. Basically, they're already trying to on the sly. I've noticed that like maybe 4 years ago, before I moved into this house, that they were already subtly trying to throw hints in there that like the fact that adults like want to be with kids is should be like normalized. I'm already starting to see hints of that. So I mean, you either let it roll over you, or you know you take a stand, and you can take a stand however any way you want. Like I mean, like but the main place to do that is if you have little duns. I mean, I know a lot of the guys that are in the chat now, like Tyrone and Watcher, are younger cats. I'm thinking neither one has kids. Neither does Michael Johnson. But um, you know, if you do have kids, like take every measure to like be very vigilant and not take any bullshit. Like these little motherfuckers that are running around today nowadays, they ended up that way somehow, and a lot of it like was because their parents don't pay attention, and even though they're not running around doing stupid shit in the street, but they're running around hypnotized by whatever electronic device, and then they go to school and then they get into bullshit, and then they go back to the hypnotization of that same electronic device, and then they become 19 and they're fucking useless. But we're entering in really tough times, and I always think that tough times make tough people, and tough people make the world go round, ultimately. But trying to think if there's anything else going on news wise. Really not. I mean, this stupid baseball lockout sucks too. I mean, like if you guys don't know, the MLB and the players union for the MLB, they're gonna go. Their last contract ran out, and now we're probably not gonna have baseball for some portion of the year, which sucks because I'm beyond any sport. Like baseball is my sport, even more than boxing. Like it used to be a tie, now it's not a tie. But let me get into the topic at hand. I forgot what I named the video in its entirety. I mean, like, let me see if I can find it on my phone. But yeah, will the boxing business, quote unquote, make Devin Haney the new Bud? Mayweather, Canelo, this Maxwell case. I'm not covering the Maxwell case any longer today. But I didn't mean that. And Michael Johnson was kind enough to leave a comment prior to me making the video. And shout out to him. Subscribe to him. He said Devin Haney don't have a choice right now. Loma ran to franchise. Now Loma's saying he will fight Cambosos. Tyrone also said Devin Haney is a hype job. I think he is being overhyped, but he has potential. Zaro Abdullah came from a cave to fight Haney for that WBC world title. Yeah, no shit. I mean, like, I understand, like, with what your last point, I understand people's rancor as to like why they don't consider Cambosos or before that Tiafimo prior to him getting beat. But Devin Haney's avenue to earning that belt, I mean, it wasn't like a resounding, it wasn't noteworthy in my eyes. And I'm not saying it like because I'm not like the biggest I'm not like a big Haney trumpeter, but it is what it is. I mean, like it kind of like came and went. I mean, I didn't know he had a belt. I do know that Devin Haney does have like some push behind him as far as being a priority with Matchroom. I'm not saying he's the priority, but he's one of them. He's not like some guy that they stash like. But having said all that, I didn't take any rancor in like people considering it Cambosos being like the lineal or undisputed. I didn't think Cambosos or Tiafimo were undisputed either. I mean, I just think that the WBC, like they always do in recent history, has a arcane ability to fuck up or muddy the waters of these championship belts. I mean, they're terrible. And a lot of people are bitching about that nowadays, but just a couple of years ago, a lot of people were, oh well, the WBC's belt is the most important. That equals all the other belts. No, every belt is bullshit. I think every belt is whack. I don't even know why fighters fight for them. And like people start making videos of like Devin Haney, let's say, like trying to sue like the WBC or like throwing away that belt. Like, I mean, like they probably should have thrown it away when they had a fucking what do they call it? When they had the belt that they made for Loma and for Canelo, the franchise. I mean, even though he won it after they already made that franchise title, but it just muddied the waters. I mean, there was no way for Lomachenko to lose it. It was just stupid. I mean, and people want to be throwing race shit around, but WBC stay doing shit like this. Never benefits black fighters. But when it suits your argument, then the WBC belt is like so important. God made the boxing in the same day he made the WBC belt. But the WBC facilities actually train like a ton of like these Mexican fighters. I mean, like two, the WBC's always been pretty shady, just as shady as any other like belt. WBO, a lot of people riff about it because Bob has a sense of control over the WBO belt, or seemingly has a control of it, which I think he does. But all these belts suck. But when you like aren't consistent with that argument and you switch it up and then say, oh well, this promotion has this belt and you can't fight for that belt because you're not in that promotion, like then don't bitch about it when it doesn't benefit you. And it's, if you're a fan or a diehard fan of like a lot of these black fighters, trust and believe that you're not going to have many avenues in which the WBC is going to do anything favorable to you or for the fighter that you're rooting for, because they do quite the opposite. Whether that be changing the threshold of what equals PED use for Mexican fighters only, like these are just recent examples too. I mean, like but be consistent with your arguments. Like don't switch it up like when things aren't working favorably by these commissions, because it never works favorably. They always do shit like to shade anybody. But frankly, I'm not even gonna say Mexican fighters, because like they made that Lomachenko title like or that franchise. I mean, and it was just as much motivation to do it for Lomachenko, who's a top ranked guy, and the WBC belt. The WBC is controlled by PBC. That's a given. Except like when the WBC chooses to fuck the PBC over or their fighters, then Mauricio, you bastard, not again, Maury. Michael Johnson said TS boxing. Remember me and you talked about him? I'm in a bar. I would stay on. Yeah, I mean, you're probably dancing with dudes at that bar, Mike. But it's pretty whack. I mean, like, and it kind of goes into the topic at hand as far as Devin Haney. Devin Haney at this current juncture. I mean, and I'm gonna go back around and say my ultimate point with that, because I do like the way that Devin Haney's attempting to move. Like it seems like and I had Southpaw 773 TV on here yesterday, and I mean, if you guys could subscribe to him, and he was saying that his affinity for Devin Haney is not that big. Neither is mine. I'm not hating on the dude, but I don't got to be like, just because I appreciate him, like I'm just in the middle with him. But you appreciate the way he's attempting to move. But then in the boxing business that we have today, like, Devin Haney happens to be on the wrong side of the street, like promotional wise. I mean, like he's stuck on an app, which a lot of these, like, a lot of these dudes that, hated the zone like a couple of years ago, they probably still hate it, but they got to switch it up when it comes to kind of like coming to grips with the fact that Devin Haney's stuck on the zone. I don't know how long and for the time being, but he is on the zone. But will that stymie him when it comes to fighting whoever? I mean, name your champion or name a fighter. I hope it doesn't. I mean, like the fact that he's fighting Jojo Diaz is promising to me, in a sense, because Jojo Diaz one is not a tough. I mean, is a tough fight for him. I think it's going to be his toughest test, but it also shows that actually I don't even know if Jojo Diaz is on the zone or not, bro. Like the I'm gonna put the link out there too if anyone wants to join on. But how's it gonna be if he chooses to stay with the zone? Because he is making good money on the zone. I looked at one of these stupid celebrity lists. It says that he has a net worth of 5 million. Maybe that's a little bit trumped up, but he's probably in that realm. He doesn't have endorsements. I mean, they mentioned Snack as an endorsement, but that's Snack's probably giving him just shorts or some shit, like 20 grand or something. But a lot of these dudes that have a lot of anonymity towards Bud Crawford love Devin Haney. Love him. But a lot of them gripe if when they thought Teofimo didn't show a commitment to fight Devin Haney. And I understand that. A lot of them were bitching when or are bitching actively because Camboso's maybe trying to land a fight other than Devin Haney with Tank Davis and sort of understand that too. But when we get too heavy with this business shit, it may come back to bite us with somebody we like. And the thing is too, you're really pumping that business shit, mostly when it comes to the Errol Spence argument. But at the end of the day, I mean, Errol Spence is one windshield away from, not having a career. In addition to that, Errol Spence is and all these guys at welterweight are in the twilight of their careers. They're past 30 years old already. Not only are they low 30s in age, but it's not like they're taking on their best fights next. Because I know for sure Errol Spence is going to fight, fast track a fight to Ugas, a fight again that nobody's asking for. Or if I'm not going to say if Manny Pacquiao creeped his head out that Errol Spence would or wouldn't fight him, but who knows? And then people are going to say it was the business. But it's just whack. I mean, and we're getting into that realm where now every ethnicity of fans is on the business. Every promoter loving fan is on the business. Every fan of any fighter, now almost every faction is in the business. And a lot of people can make easy assumptions about me or just because I'm not dick riding Haney that I'm this, and that. I don't like black fighters. So I can make easily assumptions of you. I know that eventually, even though you're spouting the whole business of boxing excuse when it comes to Errol Spence, that the same business of boxing excuse or the same landscape of making excuses due to business is going to come right back to bite you. See, and I'm now committed casual fan. I'm not watching none of these dudes like that no more. I was supposed to go out of town tomorrow. I'm going to go out of town another day. So I'm not going to front I'm not going to watch these fights because I am. As always, it's team stream. I'm not paying for nobody's shit no more. But it's not I'm gonna be a casual fan like a lot of you guys nowadays. Not a lot of you guys in the chat. Everybody in this chat knows more boxing than me, especially current day boxing. But I'm not gonna be coming on here hyping up oh my god, I haven't eaten since Tuesday because Devin Haney is gonna fight Jojo Diaz, or or because Tank Davis is gonna fight that really quiet Mexican guy that looks smaller than Tank Davis, who's already short as is. God, I haven't talked to my wife because I'm so nervous about the outcome of these fights. Not happening. I'm not coming on here to dick ride any fighter. or to prop up anybody unless they're doing the shit I want. And I mean, it's gonna be hard to fight, to even find people that are doing this in today's boxing landscape because of the goddamn boxing business. And for a lot of these same fans that atypically like Devin Haney and a lot of other fighters that I could easily assume that they like as well. It's not just going to be Devin Haney that suffers from the boxing business. It's going to be Ennis. And Ennis is the business. I think Ennis could give a hell of a fight to Bud, and I think he could give a hell of a fight to Errol Spence. I think he could beat one, if not both of those guys soon or now. But when you got a lot of these cats that are in and around 140, that are with Top Rank, or then who do these younger guys fight, or who does Ennis fight? Because a lot of people that love Ennis, that love Devin Haney, are probably one notch below love Ennis just as much, which that's a little bit peculiar because Ennis is way more talented than what Devin Haney is as of this time. I could just see more with Ennis as far as punching ability, has a great frame, pause. I think he could carry the weight up if he needed to. I don't see that with Haney of yet. Maybe if he gains a little bit more weight or gets a little bit more man strength, then he'll have more behind those punches. Who's to say? I mean, but the guy who is going to be sitting idly by more and sooner is going to be Gerard Ennis. I mean, and possibly Devin Haney too. We can't look past the possibility of Devin Haney signing long term with Matchroom, and he'll probably get paid a nice amount. I think he's got paid more than a lot of these cats being at Matchroom, and that's not me dick riding Matchroom. I hate Matchroom, but if Devin Haney says, "Listen, I'm or talks to himself and says the best deal for me long term is at Matchroom," I mean, are they going to go above and beyond to try to overpay guys to fight him? I don't like using overpay, or you get the point. Are they going to go above and beyond to make the matches that are going to bring them to a new threshold? Who knows? It's a dangerous place to be, where God forbid you pick the wrong promotion, or I mean, they're all bad, but God forbid you get stuck on a promoter's roster and they don't give a shit about you, and or other promoters that have your competition make excuses as to why they don't do cross promotional shit, then you're kind of idling by. I mean, you're Demetrius Andrade. You have fights and nobody cares. And I like Demetrius Andrade. I actually like him a lot, but he fought recently, and I didn't even know he fought. I watched it on YouTube weeks later. So I mean, the more divisive we get as far as rooting for a particular promoter, I mean, or rooting for a particular fighter, in spite of them lacking off, or in spite of them not being committed to take on good fights, then the boxing business is going to take over. The boxing business is deep into the roots of this sport, and I mean, there's no end in sight. I mean, there is a rumor that Virgil Ortiz is going to fight. Forgot this cat's name, and that's actually a decent fight. I forgot his. He's a little bit older too. It's almost mid-30s, but it's for these young cats. I mean, it's not life or death for me, because again, I'm becoming a casual fan. But it is going to stymie the sport. It's going to stymie the sport big time, and then everybody's going to throw every other argument other than like, let's like really take the sport apart and build it back together. People are going to use race because they're already doing it. People are going to use the fact that you don't know business because they're already doing it. People are going to use any excuse under the sun that certain fighters are cowards when it applies to their argument that they're trying to make. We're already getting a lot of that, and one thing we're not getting, it's more fights. We're getting more clickbait on every one of these channels for you to be bashed, if you don't agree with every sentiment, like, with as it pertains to certain fighters or certain promotions. Like, it's a weak state that we're in. But for those, and I let the link out there too if anybody wants to get on. Or did I? Let me do it again. But as far as the cards tomorrow too, I mean, like that guy that Southpaw mentioned, Fondura, like I would think his name is Fondura. I did watch a little bit of him, like but it was highlights. I couldn't. I was trying to find the fight. He looked promising, but it's gonna be tough to like tune into the beginning of one of these cards, like especially when I'm streaming, because it's hard to keep a stream going like long term. But I'm gonna cut it short today. I mean, unless somebody else jumps on, I didn't do as much background work as I wanted to for what's happening this weekend. But let me know what you guys think. Leave the comments afterwards, like after you, if any of you guys rewatch it. And again, I'm not hating on Devin Haney. I'm not gonna. That's another thing that I wanted to mention too. Let me drink my water first, though. Pardon me, guys. But I'm not rooting against Devin Haney or his interests or his dad. I like his dad. But I'm not here to, fucking stroke anybody either. Don't take like the fact that I offer any criticism of any of these guys as, that's just my stance forever. If Devin Haney knocks off the head of everybody who's in front of him, he goes into Australia and beats Cambosos. He beats Cambosos in MSG, or if he beats Tiafimo or fucking Tank Davis or whoever the hell, I'm not gonna try to shade it in a different way, or I'm not gonna say that the fight was fixed like a lot of these other channels are doing. Now every fight that doesn't go their way is fixed. What Wilder got cheated. Fucking Sean Porter, who they didn't like 2 years ago, now he got cheated. So no, I'm not gonna like try to concoct some fucking crackhead like theory as to like why your favorite fighter won, and trying to take points away from him. No, I'm not gonna do any of that. But what the fuck did I just do? Oh, okay. But just because I'm rendering anything like negative, I don't want like that to be like where people think that that's my stance forever. Like, and even with Errol Spence, bro, as much as I fucking can't stand Errol Spence nowadays, like, and the way he's moving, if Errol Spence beats Bud Crawford, and it's not like some fucking scheme or some shit or some Tex-Mex decision, more power to him. I think that like it brings some finality to the situation, and it brings a superstar into the division. It puts somebody else like as the premier guy, and like it puts everybody else in the position to chase him. That's good for boxing. And it's good for me. I mean, even though I'm not patriotic, or it's not like, I'll put it back like this. It's good for boxing when American champions, or when there's a strong American presence in most of these divisions. But, when you have a opportunity to really easily make a American superstar in Errol Spence or Bud Crawford, and you bring up the boxing business as to excuse why it's not happening, and I'm dumb for not like agreeing with that, then might not be the channel for you. I mean, or this might be a channel that contradicts that notion. Because life's too short. Life's too goddamn short to be like saying like, oh, we're gonna marinate these fights. Because I remember when initially, like, and I say this many times, like when initially possibility of Errol Spence and Bud Crawford fighting, most people were saying like this is already after Crawford had a belt, that it wouldn't go past 2020. Now Corona be damned and all that shit, that those are outside influences. But if I knew that boxing was serious or these promotions were serious about getting shit popping post Corona, then post Corona we would have had some great ass fights. And even during the lockdown, there were fights still happening. Why weren't great fights happening? Usman fought fucking what's his face? That Latin cat in the during a lockdown. So why couldn't boxing bless us with any of that? Or even easier, why couldn't they bless us with some of these great fights after the fact? Like one shit got popping. One shit got popping. Like we didn't get any good fights. We got more business. Oh, we didn't get any headway as far as a resolution or a commitment from Errol Spence to fight Bud Crawford. We got going on 3 weeks that Errol Spence has said dick regarding fighting Crawford. And it's going to be that way. It's going to be more like dumb talk. Anything besides Errol having to line up and like fight this dude. And I like a lot of people are talking the Ugas thing. Like if I give one shit about Ugas fighting anybody, I don't want to see Ugas. If Ugas never fought again, I wouldn't give a shit. Like I'm not gonna cheer for his demise, but like Ugas doesn't factor. Period. Ugas didn't factor before any of this stuff. Like Ugas doesn't factor now. Ugas wasn't around the division, in and around the division, like doing anything that mattered until he had a close fight with Sean Porter. So that elevated him, even though he lost. But Bud Crawford beating that same guy and knocking him out, something that no one's ever done to Porter. Bud cheated. Bob Arum paid Kenny Porter to throw the towel in, like stupid shit. Like I can't mess with like a lot of these cats no more on YouTube because it's just a lot of these factions online. I'm only here to try to be a thorn on your sides nowadays, and it's not like no beef. I mean, like if I get tickets on the cheap or comped, I'm gonna start going to these fights. I'm not going to fights in New York because I'm not getting that thing, but if they happen to be somewhere else, like that stupid arena in Maryland or here in Jersey, I'm gonna go all these fights, And if somebody wants to talk to me in person about that, it's not like I'm gonna front off and like, or be defensive like in the line of questioning. I'll tell you to stop being a little bitch. Like if you question me about it in person, that's not gonna happen. And a lot of people have my number too. In real life, besides like my chat fam and like my WhatsApp group, like a lot of these channels, like I've said, I've talked to offline. A lot of these channels I know for years too, or I've talked to them offline at least once or twice, half a decade ago or a couple of years ago, before I lived in this house. So I mean, like, people don't have an issue until like, they get in a safe space and try to like tell you that they have an issue. I'm not gonna get defensive, not that I was defensive about that before. Like, I'm not here like to beef with no other channel either. I mean, if I had problems at any other channel in the past, it was because they were making up shit or lying about me. Like, actually, you can make up shit about me too. Just don't lie about like confronting me because, that's not like true. But besides that, like, I mean, Channel will come out tomorrow and say that I'm a motherfucker, and like, it's all good. Like, I mean, if you feel that way about me, I mean, it's because you think a certain fighter is cuter than the other one, and you don't want to see him get hurt, and that's okay. I mean, like, I know a lot of you guys are living deep in the closet, like, and I mean, more power to you. I mean, do what you want, do what thou wilt. But I also have to do what I want too. I mean, like, and it's not no closet shit. It's bitching about the fact that I'm not getting what I want in this sport. I was watching fights right before this. I mean, like, I always talk about the Morales. Like, if you guys haven't watched Eric Morales like old fights, I mean, like, you're missing out. Because it was just gangsterness like happening in the ring. Like, him against Pacquiao, him against Maidana. The God, I keep forgetting who he fought the 3 times, fucking head injury. But that was and if I remember correctly, I don't think dude ever fought like on pay-per-view like that I remember. No, Morales did fight on pay-per-view. But this was like expired Morales, and people remember the Morales that fought Danny Garcia. Even the one that fought Maidana, I mean, that was fat Morales. 130 Morales, like, or 130s Morales. I mean, the dude was a goon. I mean, if he fought Maidana and Maidana gave Mayweather probably his toughest fight when they first fought, and it was all on Maidana's brawn. It wasn't because he was this savvy boxer or was outpointing Mayweather. Like, he was beating the shit out of Mayweather. And so, I mean, giving Mayweather more of a beating than what Cotto gave him. And a lot of people thought that Cotto was Mayweather's closest fight when they fought. And that was just on Cotto cutting him once or twice. I think it was twice. But Morales beat that dude when he was already like way past his prime or past his prime. The Danny Garcia version of that got into the ring, or the Eric Morales that got into the ring with Danny Garcia. I mean, that's the love handle version. But the dude was a warrior. And like, is Eric Morales somebody who you refer to all the time, like in boxing arguments, even though he fought in the 90s? Like, is that like the standard? No, it wasn't the standard. He was just a guy in the crowd almost, because Marquez was bigger than Morales. Pacquiao was bigger than Morales, or became bigger than Morales. Mayweather was always bigger than Morales. Sugar Shane, Zab Judah, all these guys were just as big, if not bigger, than Morales. I mean, and is there anybody putting it like down like that nowadays? No, and he wasn't even the standard bearer for putting it down. Let me see. Haney is a Mayweather imitator. Yeah, I think that style, like, I don't know, because I'm like kind of like with that. Like, he is a Mayweather imitator. For a young cat, it's not a good look, because like his last 3 fights went into decisions, and I think 2 of those were 12 rounders. The other one was a 10. But when you should be collecting scalps by leaving people convulsing in the ring, to be fighting a really, really, really evasive Mayweather style. Not that Mayweather was evasive, because Mayweather could fight in the pocket. Haney doesn't fight in the pocket. But you're gonna have that criticism. Mayweather had that criticism, and I don't even think it was merited with Mayweather. I think Mayweather just had good defense. Mayweather wasn't running around the ring. When Mayweather fought Canelo, I mean, like, Mayweather stood in the pocket many times. I think that messed up Canelo more than Mayweather's defensive prowess, to be honest. He thought Mayweather was going to be running around, and none of that happened. He can't fight on the inside at all. I haven't seen it. Yeah, you're right. Somebody explains to me why they think Haney is so good. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if I were to ask that question, they're gonna tell me that I'm some fucking Klansman or some shit. But and like, they'll probably say that that you're who knows. But no, I don't. I did buy into the hype, like, initially, like, but I don't see it though. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, And I thought the same about Shakur, but Shakur is getting better, and Shakur like does hurt people, like and I think Shakur's body of work is far better than Devin Haney, even though no, they're probably the same age. Tank blows him away. No, yeah, I think so. Shakur, I think would give him the business too. Haney needs a little slap. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about. I mean, like the one thing, like I said, I do like that he's pursuing of the action. I do like that he's makes it his business to call other people out. But then I gotta ask myself, is that happening because he's on the zone and that can't happen in today's landscape? But to me, it's not an excuse. Like to me, like it's not an like that's not a most times, honestly, when I don't see these cross promotional fights, I don't blame it on the promoters. I blame it on like one of the fighters being bitch made. I thought about it with AJ and Wilder. I thought that it wasn't a promotional issue. It was an AJ issue, not wanting to fight Wilder. I think if AJ would have been a lot more honest about it and say, I want to do A, B, and C before fighting Wilder, I probably could have been accepting of that. Like, I don't think a lot of people would have been accepting of it, but I mean, I could have lived with it. I could have done that. I could have been that way with Errol Spence too. Not at this point because, I mean, there is no other fight to be made, but AJ at least had somewhat of a semblance of an excuse. I mean, in addition to the fact that I think AJ was scared of Wilder during those times. But Haney is the literal definition of a shot in the dark. As far as his potential, in my eyes, yeah, it is a shot in the dark. It's unknown at this point. Like, maybe, and who knows, maybe Haney is a way better prospect than Shakur Stevens. I don't see it yet, but I do give it up to him because it does seem like he's a student of the game. A lot of people talk shit about dads being in corners, or like Tiafimo's dad being a bad choice, Kenny being a bad choice for his son. But I think that Devin Haney should have still with Floyd Senior. I think that I know that camp is chaotic, but he should have said, "Listen, like Floyd, like Senior, work with me outside of like the juniors realm, and or Floyd Junior's realm, and just school me, you and me, like like you train me up." I think that when there was somebody that he beat and like Floyd was trying to, Floyd Senior was trying to like dap him up and like hug him after the fight, and he seemed like he ain't want anything to do with Floyd Senior. And then the next fight was when his father became the principal dude in the corner. But nobody riffs about Haney's pops being, his main guy. Boxing Learner, I want to thank you for coming through. I mean, like you're welcome to come on any other time. Like, or I mean, you're welcome to utilize the link that I put for StreamYard if you want any input. Scrapbook Boxing, man. Glad to see you in here, man. Great to see L5 players. Greetings to you and guests. Yeah, man. Scrapbook, I've been wanting to talk to you, bro. I've been I was going to flea markets heavy duty, bro. I just bought a nice ass chair because I know you I think you like to pick like I do. But thank you for coming on, man. And Scrapbook Boxing is like the literal definition of somebody who knows everything to do with boxing. And it's great to see that you show me a semblance of love by coming through. So thank you, Scrap. But yeah, as far as Haney moving on from Floyd Senior, I thought that was I mean, Floyd Senior is a character in itself. I mean, or in himself. Like, I mean, he's probably a real pain in the ass to work with, but I mean, if I had to pick a trainer, he'd be up there. Like, as far as like who would I not maybe necessarily who I would give my kid to train, like, but who I would want to be trained up by. I mean, he might be number one in that list. I mean, because he's not working with a ton of dudes. one, and he's a good trainer. He is a good trainer. He trained De La Hoya. He trained his son. I mean, but then when you revert from that to like having your dad train you, when your dad has like zero ringside experience and get no criticism, I think it's really critical when like a lot of like the talk of many of these channels this week is like all like family turmoil and why your father shouldn't be training you. When it came to Tiafimo, because right now, like, you know, you may not like Tiafimo, but use that argument all the time. I mean, at least when it's applicable. I mean, if fucking um Bill Haney's like the illest like trainer in the world, then I mean, and I'm seeing that in the ring, and I'm seeing like more improvement like than from when he was with Mayweather, then I wouldn't have an argument. But I mean, like right now, it's either lateral, like he didn't show me shit like to impress me when he was with Mayweather, and he's not showing me shit to impress me in the ring. That now that his dad is his primary trainer. But moving on from that though, I also want to talk about like the Mayweather criticizing Canelo. I didn't I read through a little bit of an article. I didn't watch the whole video because it was like one of the ones I saw was like 20 something minutes. Um and Mayweather basically brought up the point that he beat Canelo in his prime and that he don't consider Canelo a clean fighter in less words than none. I agree with him on one of the points in that Mayweather Canelo isn't a clean fighter. I mean, I don't think Canelo's gonna be a clean fighter moving forward. I think like that the commissions and whether it be like with the belts or these state commissions are always going to give some avenue or some leeway to Canelo, and really I don't even see a reason why. Like I mean, like if Canelo is the biggest name in boxing right now, it's because the sport of boxing stinks right now. And I give Canelo his props. Like I mean, like you know, in spite of the fact that I think he does cheat, but he is accomplishing way more than anybody in the boxing landscape. Though I think that he left certain fighters that he should have fought, like on the table. Yeah, I mean, I think he should have fought Andrade. I think at some point there was a good argument for him to fight Charlo. I still think he should fight those dudes. But do I think he's a drug cheat? That's never going to change. Um, but as far as him fighting Canelo in his prime, now that's more of a juicy argument, like to me, because I don't want to say that Canelo didn't improve from that point on. Canelo is way more twitchy, like in the pocket. Canelo is way better at cutting off the ring, but Canelo doesn't fight a lot of those like crafty dudes like that. I mean, like these dudes that can move around and hurt you. I mean, like the best example, like the hardest puncher that Canelo fought for a while was Danny Jacobs. That still might be the hardest puncher he fought. And Jacobs doesn't move better than Canelo does. It's just an all right win. Like I mean, like there might be somebody else that I mean, is a dried up Kovalev a harder puncher than Danny Jacobs? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, but did Canelo get a lot better than what went the version that fought against Mayweather? I don't know, because I mean, like Mayweather did make him come in at 152. Some people bitched about that, but that's what Canelo does every fight. I mean, like most fights, Canelo's doing this weight bully shit, or like he's doing these like really odd like weights that fighters got to be a month out and like days out. Like that's whack. I mean, like a lot more should be said of that, like or Canelo doing that. I know he was doing it consistently around that 2015 era, 2016, where Canelo was doing a lot of these weird weigh-in tactics, like that weren't even on the night of or the night before type stuff, you know. So I mean, like Do I think that Mayweather would beat Canelo now? Absolutely not. Canelo would probably crush Mayweather now. I mean, Mayweather's taken a dozen steps back from like what I remember him against even Berto um, in the ring. I mean, I think Canelo looks shittier than when he fought McGregor, his last fight, against Paul Rudd or Jake Paul, whatever the fuck he's called. But what is there some version of Canelo that could have beat Mayweather at like 160 and down, like or when he was having these fights at 160 and down? Possibly. Do I think Canelo at his prime would beat Mayweather's prime? Absolutely not. That would, and you could even give Canelo those 2 pounds, like, and make it at 154, which I think that Mayweather wouldn't even fight at 154. I think Mayweather would go into the ring um, at 150 probably and still beat Canelo. And Mayweather, I believe, even though 152 was the limit, I believe Mayweather went into that fight at 150 pounds and gave Canelo all types of business from round one. I think Canelo was defeated by round two in that fight. I mean, he looked like he was scared to death. And that fight was underrated too. I mean, I watched. I love crowd versions of fight, which like basically are versions of the fights that people record from their seats. I mean, like, no, I don't want to watch that shit from the top rung. But there's some people that have like fly seats that are like 10 rows up, and you could actually hear the punches. Um, and they're like like a bird's eye, like top view. Like somebody had one of Canelo versus Mayweather like that, and it was a great fight. Mayweather fought gorgeously, but are Mayweather's criticisms fair? Yeah, absolutely. He hit the mark on most of them. Now, do I think Mayweather was doing that shit being a hater? Yeah, he was being a hater. He's probably like thinking that like somebody else has the boxing crown more than I do, like, or as far as purists go, like, people that are in the sport for the last like 5 years are gonna look at Canelo as more of the purist top boxer, and Mayweather as more of a celebrity guy or a guy who's already whose boxing career has expired. So maybe he feels a way about that. But I think he was speaking 100% truth. But Mayweather's also doing this shit in spite of the fact that his fighter was fighting, and that was his fighter's press conference, and he's over here speaking about Canelo. Maybe he's trying to gain some traction or take away some fanfare away from Canelo and putting it on Tank Davis, but I don't think people are going to see that, or people don't see it that way. Mayweather was taking fanfare away from Canelo and putting it right back on himself, and that's how Mayweather gets down. I mean, like, and there's a lot of me, like, as far as Tank Davis being on Mayweather Promotions, that thinks that Mayweather will never allow Tank to become half of what he was when he was still fighting. And I don't think it's because he thinks that Tank doesn't have the goods. Mayweather's just a weird guy. That relationship between Tank and Mayweather is extremely weird. Like the fact that they've had contention online. I mean, and Davis's contention for the most part happens online. He's very happy about going after people on Twitter, and not that I've watched any of this shit. I don't follow nobody on Twitter for the most part. Besides finance, I mean, like I maybe follow like 2 channels on Twitter, and that's it. I like everything else to do with Twitter has to do like crypto and like geeky stuff that I like. But and tattoos or some shit like that. But that whole Mayweather Haney in some degree like Ellerby like combination is extremely weird. And I know Mayweather was floating the idea. I mean, this has nothing to do with what I just discussed, but Mayweather was floating the idea of Bud Crawford signing with him. And I gotta think like, if Bud Crawford had this opportunity to sign with like MTK Global or Mayweather, who would I rather him sign with? I can't even say. I honestly like, because it seems like him being signed with Mayweather is like kind of like being in that like an amalgamated like PBC like roster, or it pretty much be like him signing with PBC. But which in theory should make the fight happen quicker. But I mean, a lot of guys on PBC haven't fought each other. Like see Keith Thurman, he didn't fight Errol Spence and actively avoided Errol Spence for a lot of years. Actively avoided a ton of people. Um, Actively avoided Bud, but and I remember when people turned on Keith. Um, Not even 5 years ago. People turned on Sean Porter a couple years ago. And now a lot of these people that are real big time Errol Spence fans or people that don't like Bud have a lot more rancor for Keith. I mean, I have a lot more rancor for Bud than they did ever with Keith Thurman, than they did ever with Sean Porter or his dad. And what did Bud do to deserve any of that stuff? Squat. Like, I mean, he just happened to be the guy that wanted to fight their favorite fighter, and their favorite fighter didn't want to fight him. That's all he did. I'm not here like to try to like play a mandolin like or a violin for Bud Crawford. He'll be okay. I think ultimately, I mean, like not that I root for a lot of these guys in their personal ventures and whatnot and how they turn out. Listen, I'm not following none of these guys unless they're in the ring. By and large, if there was some real gangster shit happening outside of the ring, then yeah, I would follow it. Historically, I've always followed that stuff. I love the 24/7s and the Inside the Ring and all these other shows that would happen before a big fight. I watched every single one of those, and I paid for just about every pay-per-view like for decades. But I'm not doing that shit no more. I'm becoming a casual, just like you guys. And I have really a real strong suspicion that a lot of these guys that are swallowing certain fighters' polls or are swallowing certain promoters' polls aren't paying for fights either. Because, I mean, you see way more diehards now online than you ever did, yet these pay-per-view numbers keep dropping. I mean, just on solely alone on the people that go above and beyond, like to try to squeeze out some bullshit ass points about Errol Spence. I mean, like, there's hundreds of thousands of them online, yet this guy's pay-per-view returns are diminishing. And that's real shit. I mean, all these past 3 pay-per-views sold less and less and less. Pardon me while I drink water. So I'm gonna cut it here, guys. But again, there's no beef against anybody. I'm not trying to say anything. Like, what the fuck I'm saying is what the fuck is coming out of my mouth. I'm not slyly talking about some other shit, or I'm not slyly a fucking closet racist. Like, motherfucker, like, I lived around more hood people than any one of you motherfuckers that are watching this video for the most part, or 99.9 something percent. I have tons of black family members, including my brothers, cousins, fucking my granddad. Like, it's not like I'm all of a sudden like I fucking read like Mein Kampf for some shit, and now I'm applying it subtly in the boxing world. No, it's I read, my God, these dudes are fucking pussies, and like if I just stay by and like am being cautious about like criticizing them because I don't want to offend somebody, then I'm being a bitch myself. Or I'm not like aiming for the ultimate result that I want, which is these guys to fight each other. These guys aren't going to fight each other by you placating to them and like giving them credit that's undue. But I'm going to wrap it up now, guys. As always, thank you for stepping into the fight playing with me. I may or may not do a show tomorrow. because I'm gonna leave town Sunday, but Alabama and Georgia are gonna play tomorrow, and I'm not gonna miss that. But if I do make a video, I hope you guys watch it. If not, I mean, like, hit that thumbs down, fucking leave comments, curse me out. I got no drama with anybody, and if you leave comments, I'm not gonna get like butthurt but I will engage you. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Don't do nothing stupid. Don't fall into the pressure for anybody. Work, fucking broads, dudes, leather panther dudes like the ones that Michael likes, or at the bar that he's at right now, Michael Johnson. And like, if you guys please could subscribe to Scrapbook Boxing. I don't know, Boxing Learner, you came up earlier today. I don't know if you have a channel or not, but like, if you do, like, please subscribe to Boxing Learner, TS Boxing, Watcher, Michael Johnson Boxing Talking More, my brother. And with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Peace.